The girl decided to commit suicide on her birthday in 165 days. She even made a very detailed plan. First, she drew a timeline on the wall, counting down the days of her life. Then, she calculated the dosage of medicine needed based on her height and weight. Next, she snuck into her mother's room every day to steal one sleeping pill and used a crystal ball to crush it, collecting the powder in a transparent glass bottle. And this was her 12th birthday gift to herself. The reason Paloma wanted to commit suicide was not because her material life was too miserable. On the contrary, she lived in a top-tier apartment in the heart of Paris, never wanting for anything since childhood, and was destined for a bright future. But it was precisely this wealthy fate where the end could be seen from the start that made her feel life was extremely painful and boring. It was like a goldfish trapped in a fishbowl, using all its strength for a lifetime, only to bump into the walls in vain. And the hypocrisy and filth of the adult world made her not want to grow up even more. Just like that day when many guests came to the house. Some appeared to be gentle gentlemen on the surface, but under the table, a smelly foot was wandering around. Others were praising the mother's cooking one second, and secretly feeding the food to the cat the next. There was even an ignorant and arrogant person, boasting that Go was invented by the Japanese, which was immediately refuted by Paloma. Go was invented by the Chinese. And unlike chess is about trying every way to wipe out the opponent, while Go focuses on preserving oneself. You have to survive to win. The most brilliant thing about Go is that you must survive to win. And you must also find a way to let the opponent survive too. Paloma. Even though Paloma corrected the person with knowledge from books, she was still sent back to her room by her father. Show some restraint. Even though she was right, she still had to suffer criticism. This made her even more disgusted by the hypocrisy of adults, and more determined to end her life. But just because she had thoughts of suicide, it didn't mean she had to live like a rotten vegetable, living a muddled life. Therefore, she decided to use an old-fashioned DV to properly record the absurd world in her eyes. The first to appear on screen was Paloma's father. He was a high-ranking member of parliament, constantly on the phone solving problems, caring far more about his career than his family, even naming the two cats at home, Congress and Constitution. The cigarette butts hidden under the carpet spoke of the frustration he had no one to confide in. In Paloma's eyes, he was a good congressman who worried about the country and the people, but not a good father who cared about his children. Next was Paloma's mother. She appeared calm on the surface, but was actually depressed inside. For 10 years, she had been talking to a psychiatrist, spending 3 hours every day, talking to the plants in the house. Yet she never managed to overcome her anxiety or quit champagne. The older sister was a competitive fighter, determined to avoid being neurotic like her mother, and to become someone even more outstanding than her father. Life to her was an eternal war. Defeating opponents and achieving victory was her unchanging motto. This day, a neighbor in the community died suddenly of a heart attack. The mother was just sighing to the husband about the impermanence of life, lamenting the neighbor's death. How terrifying. They were perfectly fine, then suddenly had a heart attack. And then they were gone. Yet the very next second, they forgot all about it, turning to care about the seasoning of the meal, as if it were just a formality. The father didn't even hear a word of it. How did they die? I am talking to you, please listen carefully. She was long accustomed to her parents' absurdity, so she took that old-fashioned camera in the apartment lobby, secretly recording others, their reactions to the neighbor's death, to see if they, as adults, would be as hypocritical as her parents. But at this moment, a cat accidentally wandered into her lens. That was the doorman's treasure. Paloma immediately carried the cat back to the porter's lodge, only to find the cramped room was unusually clean and tidy. On the table were dark chocolate, a pot of black tea, and an aesthetic treatise in praise of shadows. She vaguely felt that the seemingly vulgar doorman was actually a well-read and elegant person at heart. Thus, Renée became the new subject in Paloma's lens. In the eyes of outsiders, she was reticent. Every day she was either cleaning or distributing mail. Neither liked nor disliked. Just an ordinary doorman image. Yet no one knew the richness of her inner world. For decades, she had been secretly reading books. And this also gave her plain self a transcendent encounter. Today, a new neighbor arrived at the apartment, about to move into the vacant apartment. He wanted to ask about the previous tenant who died of a heart attack. Did you know the Artens family well? A wonderful family. I didn't know them particularly well, about the same as others. A happy family. Happy families are all alike. But every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Mr. Kakuro's words made Renée's heart tremble. She immediately opened the other door in the room. The small square space was filled with books. She pulled out a copy of Anna Karenina, confirming that their conversation just now came from this book. Happy families are all alike. But every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. At this moment, she felt she had met a kindred spirit. And for the first time since her husband's death, felt a spark. That was the beauty of being on the same wavelength. But she soon became self-deprecating again. After all, she was just a poor and ugly low-class doorman. How could she aspire to the wealthy upper-class elite? The two could not be friends, let alone have any deep interaction. On the other side, Mr. Kokoro quickly integrated into the circle. And in the elevator, met Paloma, who had forgotten her school bag because she had learned some Japanese. Paloma greeted him. "I know a little Japanese, but I have no talent for it. May I correct your pronunciation? Please, don't hesitate. I don't have any talent. Talent isn't just a gift. I don't have any talent." "That's great, you are very talented." Correcting one's own problems, and then offering encouragement, instead of the same old self-righteous preaching. This immediately made Paloma feel favorable toward them. The two turned the conversation to the concierge, Renée. They both agreed that she was not as vulgar as she appeared on the surface. A few days later, Mr. Kokoro hired a large group of people to renovate his new home. The massive scale of the operation also made Renée confirm once again that the gap between their social classes was worlds apart. Meanwhile, Paloma was still recording Renée's every move. Her mother had started talking to the plants again, which left Paloma speechless. She also longed to communicate with the adults, but her mother was gloomy. Her father didn't care about the family at all, and her sister saw her as a weirdo, leaving her in this home, in a state of being completely misunderstood. But fortunately, Mr. Kokoro came over in person to invite Paloma to visit his home. His new home was full of artistic flair, with two well-behaved and quiet cats by his side. Seeing this, Paloma couldn't help but complain about her own two fat cats, who lounge on the sofa all day and shed fur all over the house. But Kokoro believed they must have other merits. Just like evil, there is always beauty that is hard to discover. They talked about the concierge again. Renée's cat was named Leo. Kokoro concluded that it must have been named after the writer Leo Tolstoy. "How did you know?" "I believe she also likes Anna Karenina very much." So, Renée soon received a package. Hardcover copies of Anna Karenina. She knew this was Mr. Kokoro's kindness, but she was also clear about the class gap between them. It would be better to keep living a simple, ordinary life as before. So she wrote a reply, saying she was illiterate and couldn't read it, but then felt that wasn't appropriate. 7 discarded drafts in a row showed her inner struggle. Fortunately, in the end, she generously chose to accept it, and wrote back to thank him for the gift. The corners of her mouth turned up slightly, like a young girl experiencing her first love. But she didn't expect that the next second, Mr. Kokoro would open the mailbox and send her a dinner invitation. "I would like to invite you to have dinner with me tomorrow night. Just a simple meal between neighbors. Keep it casual." "Neighbors? But I am just a concierge. A person can have two identities at the same time." Renée never imagined that one day she would be treated with such gentleness. But she wasn't ready yet for this day to come. For over 20 years, she had never been a guest at anyone else's home. She had no decent dress, and didn't know how to dress up or wear makeup. Her colleague thought this wouldn't do, so she borrowed a dress for her from the dry cleaners. "Are you saying this belongs to someone else?" "The owner of the dress passed away just last week. Before her family discovered the dress was at the cleaners. It's enough for you to have dinner with Mr. Kokoro 10 times. "I cannot do that. What is the point of having this dress when I am dead? Try it on, don't make me late." Although it is offensive, Renée accepted her colleague's kindness. Then she went to the hair salon to clean up her dry and frizzy hair. Throughout the process, she kept her head bowed. Her low self-esteem made her afraid to face her own ugliness. When she gathered the courage to look in the mirror, she was shocked to find that the brand new version of herself could actually be unexpectedly beautiful. Even a homeless man on the street couldn't help but compliment her. "Mrs. Renée, you are truly elegant." On the other side, Paloma visited Mr. Kokoro's home again and met his young granddaughter. She, who firmly believes in destiny, had almost foreseen the little girl's future. Yoko Oziyu. Mr. Kokoro Oziyu's granddaughter. The sole heir to a wealthy Japanese family. She will drop out of school later to marry the son of a wealthy banker. 3 days after drug rehab, she will raise 4 children in a spotless home. Yoko Ozu will eventually end up divorced, becoming an alcoholic billionaire suffering from depression. What about me? Is my fate written on my forehead? I want to die precisely because I believe in destiny. That evening, Renée put on the simple and elegant dress and went to Mr. Kakuro's home for the appointment with a nervous heart. The decor here is in a typical Japanese style. Even the toilet was designed with a unique touch. The moment Renée sat on the toilet, a powerful piece of music suddenly started playing. Mozart's Requiem. She smiled slightly, silently admiring Mr. Kakuro's creativity. But because she was unfamiliar with the smart toilet, Renée got splashed in the face by water. Both of them couldn't help but laugh out loud. The originally stiff atmosphere became relaxed. Mr. Kakuro cooked himself, making noodles and dumplings, but didn't consider that Renée couldn't use chopsticks, causing her to get noodles on her clothes. This made her, already insecure, immediately start belittling herself. I have lived alone for a long time. Never go out. Not as socializing. A bit anxious. Having dinner with you is something I wouldn't even dare to imagine. I want to keep a low profile and not cause trouble. No one would hire a pretentious concierge. You are not pretentious. You are just curious about books. Fortunately, Mr. Kakuro was gentle enough to help her resolve her inner worries. When leaving, Renée noticed a landscape painting on the wall. She immediately thought of a movie line. The Kyoto mountains are the color of red bean pudding. Movie line. Have you seen the Municata sisters? I saw it a long time ago. Unexpectedly, both of them had seen the same movie. Renée had the videotape. Kakuro had the projector. They agreed to watch the movie together next Saturday. And as her planned death date drew closer, Paloma still couldn't find the meaning of living. She aimed her camera at the goldfish at home again. For 9 years, it has been swimming around in a small container. If no one changes its water, it might even be poisoned by its own waste. And all of this for it was already destined. What is the point of living a dull, tasteless life? So Paloma took a sleeping pill and personally freed the goldfish from its boring fate. Then she threw it into the toilet, letting it rest in peace with a full of water. But soon, the sister discovered that her goldfish was missing. Paloma, who was seen as a weirdo, naturally became the prime suspect. What did you do to my goldfish? I woke up in the middle of the night feeling a bit hungry. Went to the kitchen to get a cookie and saw the goldfish belly up. Where did you put it? Flushed it down the toilet. You are truly sick. It was already dead. You really are an unbearable little lunatic, Paloma. Although the goldfish died, the sister wasn't very sad. Instead, she used this as leverage, ordering Paloma to deliver a message to Renée for her. Go find that old woman and tell her to bring the mail up as soon as she receives it. The reason was that the sister went to the concierge to collect mail in the morning, but was turned away by Renée, on the grounds that it wasn't opening time yet. She was so angry she threw a tantrum all over the house, cursing Renée as an old, ugly witch, who wouldn't even make an exception for her. But her parents didn't side with her, believing one shouldn't bother others before working hours. So she had to use the death of the goldfish to threaten her sister, to make her go and warn Renée, to vent her anger, to be able to interact with Renée. Paloma was certainly willing, but she wouldn't use abusive language like her sister, but rather communicate politely and as equals. My sister is waiting for some important mail. She asked me to see if you could bring it up. Fine. Seeing her standing at the door and refusing to leave, Renée issued an unprecedented invitation. Would you like some chocolate? Come in. Perhaps only those who are similar will be attracted to each other. Only those on the same frequency will resonate. Paloma really liked this quiet place. She picked up a piece of chocolate and gently placed it in her mouth. Renée followed suit. They both agreed that letting the chocolate melt slowly on the tongue is the most enjoyable way to eat it. Since then, Paloma often followed behind Renée. Perhaps it was because they shared an inexplicably similar temperament. Renée, who usually didn't have a pleasant face for anyone, found that she couldn't refuse Paloma no matter what. Thus, she became a frequent subject in Paloma's camera lens, and even described herself as having a bad temper, being old and ugly, and having morning breath that could kill a monster. Although Renée belittled herself as worthless, Paloma knew the elegance of her inner world. In some forgotten little corner, she was no longer a lowly concierge, but a guest of those ancient and modern, literary, historical, and philosophical figures. Through books, she engaged in cross-dimensional intellectual exchanges with him. Soon it was Saturday. The day they agreed to watch a movie, Renée had prepared the videotape and snacks. Visiting Mr. Grand's home again. Although they were a step apart, their two passionate hearts were already close. No matter how exciting the plot of a movie is, or how delicate the emotions in a black and white film are, they cannot compare to the attraction of the person in front of me. After going out, Renée noticed a photo on the wall. It was Mr. Grand's late wife, who died of cancer 10 years ago. Renée's husband also died of cancer 15 years ago. Mr. Grand had never heard of this. Because here, only the death of a wealthy person is considered a big deal. No one cares about the death of a low-level doorman. Renée realized the class gap between them once again. The middle-aged romance she longed for, perhaps in the eyes of others, is just a joke. You poor fool. Who do you think you are? You are just an ugly doorman. She fell into a deep self-doubt again. This feeling, perhaps only those who have felt inferior can empathize with. In Renée's eyes, she is worthless. Little did she know, the cultivation and knowledge she had internalized were, in Mr. Grand's eyes, the most dazzling. He invited Renée to dinner again. His birthday is in a few days, and there is a very good Japanese restaurant nearby. But this time, Renée refused, because she felt she was not worthy at all. They were not people from the same world after all. But after Mr. Grand left, she cried alone in loneliness, longing to have, yet accustomed to denying herself. The voice of "I am not good enough" echoed in her mind over and over, worrying about not being accepted, doubting she is worthy of being loved. This is the inferiority complex working quietly behind the scenes. Paloma gave Renée a warm hug, telling her that she is not that bad. In the end, the hope for love triumphed over her inferior heart, driving Renée to write a letter to Mr. Grand, expressing her wish to have dinner with him. And she received a reply soon after. Along with it came a dress, which was Mr. Grand's gesture of affection for her. Renée took a very warm bath, and then found a goldfish in the toilet, showing great vitality. And Paloma, who had flushed the goldfish down the toilet to set it free, was now planning her own suicide in 2 days. In the evening, Mr. Grand arrived on time, and even personally draped a shawl over Renée. The elegant dress gave her an aristocratic air. Even the apartment residents politely addressed Renée as Madam. She was shocked. They had known each other for over 20 years. Yet after changing clothes, they didn't recognize her. She didn't recognize me. That's because she never really looked at you. The two went to an authentic Japanese restaurant. Mr. Grand said they could be friends, or even whatever relationship they wished to be. At this moment, all the spikes Renée used for defense fell off, exposing the softest belly of a hedgehog. They walked on the quiet street late at night, arm in arm, just like a couple who had been married for many years. Since Mr. Grand had made his intentions clear, Renée no longer actively defended herself, calmly accepted the gentle confession from the other person. The world is vast. There is always someone who can understand your elegance. Returning to the concierge room, she received another gift from Paloma. It was a pop-up book from when she wandered in the sea of books. Renée never imagined that she too could shine, and even make Paloma have the urge to become a concierge when she grows up. I want to be a concierge when I grow up. That's a great idea. We are willing to do our best to support you in this direction. You know we are very willing to help you, right? Exactly. But her parents' reaction made her feel annoyed. They didn't even ask themselves why she wanted to be a concierge, and just hypocritically said they would support her in that direction. This made her feel even more hopeless about life. Planning to end her life the next day, to escape from the predestined goldfish bowl dilemma, a new day arrived as scheduled. Renée's steps became light. The present was a stable life. The future was Mr. Oziu's gentleness. She had never felt that life could have so much to look forward to. Renée went out to take out the trash as usual, but saw the familiar drunk homeless man dancing wildly in the middle of the road. She originally wanted to stop him. "Jean-Pierre, don't stay there," but was hit and sent flying by a speeding van. The beautiful life that was about to come also came to an abrupt end. She saw this as a form of retribution, punishing herself for secretly wearing clothes from the laundry. People around stopped their steps. It turns out that even the death of a concierge gets attention. Oziu. My heart is like a curled up little kitten. I want to have one last cup of sake with you. Oziu took off his suit jacket to preserve the last bit of dignity for Renée. At the moment of facing death, she was just preparing to love. Paloma, who was about to commit suicide, ran downstairs crying. Renée's death not only brought her sadness, but also saved her life that was about to wither. Because she finally understood. Death is not what she imagined to be that calm and beautiful. You will never see the people you love again, and the people who love you Renée deliberately hid her intelligence and sensitivity, playing the image of a mediocre and boring concierge, just to cater to the stereotypes of the apartment residents. Her disguise was not hypocrisy, but an instinct for self-protection. Just as she said, no one would hire a pretentious concierge. So she lived like a hedgehog, appearing irritable and ugly on the outside, devoting all her energy to pursuing the richness of the spiritual world. And this is the elegance of a hedgehog. If life is a dull goldfish bowl, is it better to be that goldfish drifting with the current, living a predestined goldfish life, or to become a hedgehog that no one disturbs, although having sharp quills, but with a soft heart inside? I think Paloma would definitely choose the latter. Because one day, someone on the same frequency will appear, to take off your disguise, understand your elegance, and let you bloom your long-suppressed true self. And that is the true love you have been waiting for. So when the soul has a companion, life is no longer lonely. Even if it doesn't end in a cliché romantic ending, at least you have possessed the most precious moments. That would be a feeling of being cherished and understood. It is also what every hedgehog desires most. Only those on the same frequency can understand your elegance.